Hello, welcome. We are live streaming financial modeling here. I'm going to build an assisted living financial model over the next week or two. This is the first day. I've been upgrading all the financial models on smarthelping.com for the last 7 months by adding cap tables to them and integrating three statement models, income statement, balance sheet, cash flow. That's all done. So I finally can start building new content, new models. So I'm really excited. The model I'm building now, the assisted living, it'll fit into the real estate bundle. So it'll be part of these. It'll also be part of the industry specific bundle. And pricing on the template once it's done, uh, I don't know. Either 45 or 75. I don't know yet. It depends on how it goes. But either 45 or 75. Um, let's send our link out to Twitter. Do a sound check. Check. Do a sound check. Sounds good. Live financial modeling. Assisted living facility operator model. Okay. So first of all, my wife worked at an assisted living for a little bit, so I'm going to get some responses from her on a few questions that I have. I'm also going to have to research some things, and I just need to know general, basically logic of how uh, revenue and expenses, like what kind of slots and logic needs to exist for that, because that's the most important part. I'm going to do a lot of other just general financial modeling around that, but the most important thing is that the ability to forecast revenues and expenses specific to an assisted living is correct or very close to being usable, or it needs to be usable. So it's got to be, you got to have the right logic. Um, Before I get started, don't forget check out smarthelping.com for more of your financial modeling needs. If you go to the financial models tab at the top here, you can buy all the spreadsheets on the site for $9.99. You can buy by category or individual as well. We've got all kinds of templates here for all kinds of different uses. Um, Alrighty, so let's jump in. We got a blank Excel sheet here. Excel's great for financial modeling. And first of all, revenue assumptions. We'll also have, let's just throw in the global control tab. That'll be similar, a validation. Now, some things I'll use from other templates is the global control. So we can just put that in. This is not really unique to any of the templates. So we'll have this in here to define dates and start year, launch year, all that. Oops. Now, as far as the timing on this, it's more of a long-term thing. It's not like a startup, like kind of a startup SaaS model or something new. These are assisted living facilities that have been around for quite a long time, and it's more of a real estate asset class. So we're gonna go with a 15-year model. Mm, Uh, 15 or 10. Hmm. Also, we're gonna have to consider, do we want to do formal three-statement modeling as well as like a cash flow waterfall? I think all that though is not really as important as just getting the operations down. So uh, I'm thinking here. Yeah, we'll make it a 10-year. We'll do a 10-year. I think that'll be best. So we'll go out, what's 10, 12 times 10, 120 months. Now we're going to go all the way from development to operations, and it's likely that during that time, oh, I'm also going to make a couple adjustments on how the cash flow works. So this model is not going to, for the internal rate of return calculations, it is not going to assume all the cash is available up front. I will display the total cash requirements of investors and owners, operators, and there'll be a cap table for that and everything else. But the actual timing of the cash flow by month is going to flow based on the any negative cash flow um, during the operating period. So that's a little bit of something I'm going to do differently that I think is good to have. Okay, so this will still stay the same. Just clearing out the references to other places here. All right. So let's think about this. Revenue assumptions, we're also going to have development and acquisition. So this could be a situation where you're building the assisted living. Um, you're going to buy the land, develop it, and operate it, or you're going to pay a developer to develop it, and then you're going to operate it, or you're just going to buy an existing assisted living facility and operate it. So an acquisition. So either way, there's going to be some startup costs here. Now, if you're just trying to model an existing facility that you already own, you would just, you wouldn't have to put in any acquisition costs. You could just put in, the operating activities and um, do whatever kind of feasibility study or whatever you need to do with it. So I think we're going to need a schedule for acquisition and or development first of all. Um, and this is going to be on a monthly basis. This will be the first thing. Now this will affect, so I'm definitely going to pull from the mixed use model because I did a really nice debt logic there. We're going to pull from that. Let's see, where was that one? The mixed use financial model. You can see here I got granular monthly expenses, and then look at the debt tab. It's really nice how it flows from a development loan based on the draws. You've got a balance. It could be accrual interest or paid during the month, and then that can transition into a regular P&I loan. And this is again if you're using debt to pay for some of your acquisition, development, all that, which you might not. It might be all equity, which would be fine too. And then it's got a potential for a refi, because this is kind of like it's kind of similar to a real estate model as far as how an investor probably thinks about this. Um, and and I've never owned an assisted living facility, but on one hand you have the operators who are paying rent on the building and somebody else owns the building. Now somebody who owns the building is just going to charge some rent amount, and it'll be pretty simple. They build it, they charge rent, and they don't have to deal with the operations. But we're going to give the option of the operator to be able to do it all themselves. And in that case, they're going to want to. In that case, they don't have any rent expense. They just have a mortgage, and then they have debt and initial development costs. So I want to bring in this logic, and probably it can't hurt. More is better here. And this model went out 10 years as well. Let's just bring in, a couple. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this logic fits pretty good. In case you need to develop the land and all that, we're going to put in some costs here. This is just going to be called, let's say the first is going to be called acquisition costs, whatever they might be, and there's, you know, 22 slots here. Then the next one will be development costs, and then you could have it granular and like label it however you want or whatever expenses there. The point is you have enough flexibility to do whatever you need here. Now it will sit on top of all the other operating expenses. So here is just mainly what you want to have here are just the costs related to, you know, acquisition, development, and then other costs. There's a whole bunch of slots here, so you can kind of it gives you a lot of flexibility um, when entering this data in, and you can organize it in a whole bunch of different ways. We're just going to do it really simple. I'm just clearing all this out. I also want to do totals. I want to adjust this model a little bit and give a totals column. So here we can see the total of everything. What's that go over column DS? Okay, so that'll make it easier to make sure your numbers are working. And then we'll copy this. Now it gets real sophisticated when we go and pull this into so we'll just call this debt. There's quite a lot of nice logic in the debt schedule that we're going to bring in. All right, so development and acquisition. Let's say you've got land development. There's some costs here over time. I'm just putting in random numbers, but you get the idea. You're going to put in costs here so you can see the total here. Let's just say there's another item. You can separate out all the different expenses. However you want. There's no real hindrance for filling all this out. And then this aggregates everything. So development, and this could also be acquisition. So maybe you're doing acquisition, things related to buying it. Maybe this is going to be property development. Let's zero these out. So you've got your initial month one, you're going to start. Now keep in mind the launch year, 2023, is just defining, and we need to update the formula here, the start year, but you might not have anything happening for a couple months or sometime in the first year, so that's fine. You just put in whenever the cash flow happens, or cash outflow. So let's say purchase price, closing costs, and then development. You know, there's a million different development costs, but let's just say construction construction. Um, I mean, there's so many hard and soft costs. We'll just put hard costs, soft costs. And let's just drag this out for like 6 months. So we can see total in all, there's a 1.8 million, which is the total of these two. Okay, so all that math is working. You can see the totals for each line item, the totals for each total category, and then the grand total up here. Now we need to flow that over to we don't need that. This debt logic, which is very, very, very nice. So this is all built, so pretty nice to integrate. And the reason why I'm working in this order of things is because I want to kind of do it in the order that you would go about starting the business. So your initial startup costs are likely centered around buying the facility or building it, how you're going to finance that. Now there's going to be, we still need a monthly cash flow before we get further into this, so we're not going to be, we're going to build that out after we get in here. So this is a really nice debt structure we'll use. Let's freeze here. Okay, that's fine for now. So that will have a monthly detail that's going to feed from all these different assumptions. All right, this needs to match this. These are all, this needs to be different, round up. Okay. So we have the general format, might as well just drag this out for the full 10 years. Okay, so this is ready. This is fine. All right, so revenue assumptions. So one of the biggest parts here. All right, let's think about this. So 10-year model, assisted living, we have our startup costs all set here. We could probably bring that over. Well, no, the financing tab is going to handle this. Percentage of development cost financed, acquisition. Okay, that's fine. So how do we make money? Let's think about this. You have different, it's kind of like a hospital model. Uh, let's think here. HUD. That's scary. All right, so what are the what are the different bed types? Or how many do you need? Or how is this structured? Okay, 3 tiers of care. Okay. Tier 1, 2, and 3. Okay. For each tier? Okay, so you've got tier 1 through 3 tiers of care, and then each tier 1 through 3, you've got different amounts of units at each one. So here's tiers of care 1, 2, 3 for bed type, 1 bed, 1 bath, or whatever. Here's 3 tiers of care. Here's his plan for 2 beds, 2 baths, and that's a granularity. So bed type and tiers of care. Oh, we'll call it apartment type. Uh, room type. Room apartment type. So tier 1, 2, 3, and then you have, so at tier 1, wait, we need to do this the other way. So we want to know how many apartment types there are. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there's 2 sets of costs or prices for each of these. Let's think here. What about apartment types? Is there more than 3? Like 5? I probably should put 5 or something, or 10. We'll do. All right, so if we do 5, so let's think how we structure. So let's say one type is base room type, and then we say at base room type, there's X of tier 1, Y of tier 2, Z of tier 3, and then we have the next room type, and then how many of each tiers of care are those rooms. Okay, this makes sense. All right, so we just do this 5 times. Yeah, you can, well, these can be defined on what they actually mean. All right, so this makes sense. You've got a facility, it has different room types, and each room type has different care types, and there's a different room rate for all of these. And there'll be different utilizations as well, and those can change over time. And the pricing it's actually additive. So we do a price here, and then we'll have to apply some general increase over time as well as a utilization rate change over time. All right, this makes really good sense. I'm feeling good about it. So base room type, we'll call this plus room type. Standard room type. Other room type. Um, Other room type 2. So each of these there's essentially you've got what 15 different room types when you look at tiers of care. You've really only got 15 different unique room types. And you might not have all of these in your facility, it depends, but this should be enough granulation to fit most cases, which is all we're trying to do here. So, and what they do is, so you've got a base price, base monthly price, and then depending on the tier of care, it'll be an additional monthly price, and then the total monthly price per room type. That'll be an assumption, and then we'll have room count. Put the counts over here. So if I say, this base room type, the base price is $2,000 a month. So it's 2,000 for all these, and then where it differentiates is the standard of care. So tier 1 standard of care is maybe an extra $900 a month. Type 2, maybe it's 1,200, and type 3, maybe it's, I don't know, 2,500. 3,000, Brittany says. All right. So, and you can put in any numbers you want here. It's just arbitrary. So total monthly price we've got, and then we can just duplicate this, even though, well, let's just say these are going to be this times. We'll just do 10% more for each type, just so we have some different numbers. And then same with this. Oh, I know. Now here, so tier 1, so okay, we only need one set of 3 for the tiers of care, because those bases will apply to all the different room types the same. I think, right? Brittany, you don't need a different base price for every different tier of a different room type. Like tier 1, let's say it adds $900 for base room type. It's also tier 1 would add $900 for the plus room type. It would add $900 for the standard room type. Well, I want to swing it how it makes sense. So I'm saying the tiers of care add additional monthly price. Does that change with the room types? Come here, come look at this. You gotta see it. Just look at this. So look, you've got different room types, right? Here's the base price for those rooms. Then you've got tiers of care. Here's the increase in the room price of the tiers. Is this different for each one as well? The additional monthly price for the tier? Or is tier 1 adds 900 no matter what room type, it adds 900, whatever the base is? In general. Does that make sense at all? I don't know how else to do it. You say you've got Yeah, so it'd be base room type, tier 3 care. So here's it. So addition for tier 3 is 3,000. Base room type is 2,000. So here would be the additional max care for room type, this base room type. Small room, here's different additions for the care edition. That's what I thought. Now, does this base price change with each tier? The tier. Okay, that was my point. So I don't need to put in 50. Okay, so I only need one set of assumptions for the tiers of care addition. Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. Okay, so that's good. So here's prices here. I don't know. This has just got to be a general pricing structure. They'd have. I mean, there's a infinite number of combinations you could have of who knows what. That's just not following this. Is that a thing? You got to pay separate. Wouldn't you just call that another tier of care? We'll just have more tiers. So tier of care one is this, tier of care two is this, three is this, four is this, five is this, six is this. Well, that's what I'm saying. You just have like six different tiers of care. Tier one means this price, it comes with this. Tier two is this, comes with this, allows for. Otherwise, you'd have to manually put in the units of tiers of care each one's getting, and that gets confusing. I think it's easier to say, okay, here's six room pricing options. That should be enough to cover generally what happens. Six. So six different. No, then I'd have to do. Then I'd have six different ones for every single room type, though. You see, then I'd have to do six times 15. I'd have like 300 prices. Well, that's what this is doing. Okay, let's think about this. I have my five different types of sizes of rooms. Yeah, because every time I add a new tier, I have to add one extra slot to all the different five room types. So I've got three tiers of care. Now, maybe we'll make it four. You get a little bit more granularity there. I mean, six, I'd have six times five, 30 different prices, I guess. Okay. I mean, it doesn't hurt to add more granularity. It's a lot harder to add that later for somebody. Yep. 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 7, 8, 9. Okay, so we've got six pricing tiers, five bed types. and more is better here. Um, it's a lot easier to not use as many of these than not have enough and then have to try to fit stuff in. So for the model to be best, this is good to have this. All right, and then we just paste these prices in. Make sure this is working. I love doing new logic, so this is really great. Whoops, do 7 there. Okay, so here's the total monthly price of each of the combinations of room types. And again, you can zero out whatever you're not using. No, they can label. The point is the logic's there. They just put in the numbers. Well, they'll be the ones putting it in. And if they have to, if I'm running a facility, I'm gonna really be sure what the heck I need to slot in. And when I know what to slot in, like I'm gonna very have intimate knowledge about what these room types are gonna be called and what the tiers of care are gonna mean because that's well, likely this is someone who's been doing this for their whole life, like 30 years they've been running these facilities. Well, then they're gonna ask somebody what tiers of care means. I think that having tiers of care. Oh, no, I think this is fine. The thing is I just need slots in logic, so we've got slots in logic in here. Um, okay. Now let's do the count of each rooms that are going to be built. Total room count. Oh, I will have more questions. Okay, so here's the count. Now, oh, wait a second. This is just a room type. Does each of the room types need to be unique to the tiers of care? Like tier 1, there's 12 rooms, 12 base rooms of tier 1. There's 20 base rooms that can do tier 2. Or can you have tier 1 through 6 be any, doesn't matter. I need to know, I'm doing room counts now. Does the tiers of care, can they only be in certain, okay. So then in theory, oh, here's why. So this is the expected room count to exist of room type base of tier 1 care. Here's how much I expect, because obviously it's going to change over time. Like you have no idea how many tiers, how many rooms you're going to have for each tier of care, but you can estimate, like, yeah, yes. So here in this case, there's 103 base room types, and I can estimate 12 are going to have tier 1 care, 20 are going to have tier 2, 5. Well, then you could define a percentage of the the apartment counts that fall into each tier over time. No, I'm going to do capacity in a stabilized capacity, and it'll grow. Uh, they can do any. It's arbitrary. That logic's not necessary. It doesn't matter. But what I need to know is if a if a given um, they need to be able to plan out how many rooms are going to be of each tier of care. And I was going to do a percentage, but I'm like, well, you might as well just put a hard count in here. Okay, I think of all the base rooms, 12 are going to have tier 1, 20 are going to have tier 2. And then you might start with 80% occupancy of that and then build up to 95% occupancy over time or something. Or you might be at 80 and stay at 80. And that's just how much money you're going to make based on that occupancy. But they can see, okay, I've got 103 base rooms, and they could change that for each of the 6 different bed types. Let's say this is smaller, 20 of these, 35 of these, 6 of these, 7 of these. It doesn't matter. It's just arbitrary. Okay. This is looking good. So we've got I'm going to call this, it's almost like a rent roll. It's, I don't know what I want to call this. Room type, schedule, pricing schedule. All right. This logic is really similar to multifamily units, but we have this granularity between tiers of care and room type base price, so that's a little bit different there. Um, okay. So room count. We'll do a note on this. This is the room count of expected rooms at each level of care for each room type. This is a room count of expected rooms. And that this assumes maximum capacity. Now, actual capacity we can put over here. Well, first of all, we can put let's see, we'll have other variables. So we've got average yearly room rate increase. That's going to be a tough one to build out. Say 2% or something, but I'm going to apply that dynamically. Okay, so average room rate increase. We also want expected. Now, for occupancy, I probably can do it for an entire set of rooms. I don't think you're going to need to define the occupancy of every individual combination of rooms here. We can just say of these base rooms, well, I mean, I guess again, more granularity is better, so let's just do it. So you've got occupancy, starting occupancy. Let's say, who knows, I'm just guessing, let's say 70%. And then we can say monthly improvement in occupancy. Let's say, I don't know, 0.1, 0.5% a month or something. Maybe 0.2% improvement. And then we'll have, let's see, this is got to go over here. Then we have stabilized, which is what you think over time the occupancy will be in a long term on average. Okay. We also want this. Let's give a space in between here. All right, this actually goes on top of everything. Now this can be different. We're gonna have to freeze this. Where do we want to freeze? Here, I think. Yeah, that's good. So you can see as you go over, still the room type. All right. So for each of these 6 different room types, you can define the starting occupancy uniquely and how much it improves per month and what's the stabilized amount. And then that will just apply to the room count. And then that room count will apply to this total monthly price to figure out how much you're making per month in revenue. And I don't believe there's any other variables we really need here for revenue. Oh, do they make money from selling food, or is that all included in the price? Food and drinks and all that. Do they make revenue in any other way besides charging money for rent for rooms? Yeah. Okay. So there's other fees that can happen. So other fees can happen here on top of this monthly rate. You might have other parking fees, all kinds of stuff. So what I'll do is we'll have an ancillary income, ancillary revenues. This could be for things like parking, pets, pill management, and just other services. And so that, and we're going to just say for the whole facility on average, how much is that per month? Let's say, on average, first of all, let's do a total room count down here. Let's say you have, so we've got 173 total rooms in the whole thing. And then based on some situation, based on however the facility you're working at or plan to run works, you'll have some other extra revenue per month based on all these other things. So you can estimate that. However, let's just say it's an extra $25,000 a month or something, and that will also grow at our annual revenue growth rate. And you could put an amount per room on average, like on average, how much are you making extra per room? But I don't think we need to tie any logic to this. It's going to be a hard-coded monthly number. Now we also have, so on this development schedule, we know when these costs are happening. What we still have to define is when the facility actually opens and the starting occupancy kicks in. So let's think about that. Um, oh, we don't need this anymore. So we have revenue increase. We're going to actually put this over here, prominently placed at the top. Let's give it space. Okay, so, and we'll give it bold too. Average annual room rate increase. We'll do some kind of nice matrix schedule to have all this stuff work dynamically. We got this. We have ancillary revenues. Those will grow at this rate. We've got occupancy. We need the month revenue starts. Now we could define it here, but I'd rather just put it right on the assumption. Well, we could put it here. Let's just put it right down here. Month operations. Well, let's say month of, or month. What do we call this? The month rooms open. Essentially your launch month or when revenue starts. And that will be validation, just like this. Okay, so this is the same. Let's say, maybe you do construction for 6 months, first 6 months, and that starts in March. So March, April, May, June, July, August, and you start in September of 2023. Run this a full 10 years. Okay. This is an assisted living LLC. All right, this is really great. We got really far on the assumptions. We've got our startup and development. So let's put this first. Like here's your initial development costs. Then we'll define the room types, how much we're making per room type, ancillary revenues, occupancy. This will all go into the monthly detail. We'll have debt, which we will do once we have more. This will be like something we do after we figure out the total monthly revenues, operating costs, all that stuff. And most of that will be driven on the room count, probably, I'm guessing. Uh, let's see. So we'll probably get into the pro forma tomorrow using these revenue assumptions to get all the revenue perfect. We'll start on expenses. Then we'll get into the cash flow for debt. And then below that, we'll set the debt service. And then we'll have other cash flow items, exit, refi, all that stuff. Um, and then then we'll be close. And then it's just about how we want to structure the income statement, balance sheet, cash flow statement, and all that fun stuff. All right, yeah, this logic is super valuable from the mixed use model for the debt. It's really good for monthly draws, so definitely something that can be relevant here. Um, yeah, I'm excited. This is going to be good. All right. Well, yeah, it's been about an hour, so I'll probably call it a day. Don't forget to check out smarthelping.com for more financial models. Uh, this model I'm building here, the assisted living, is going to fall into the real estate bundle as well as the industry specific bundle. And I believe I'm going to charge $75 for this as I go along here. It feels like something that's probably a $75 price, but maybe 45. I don't know. Honestly, it's up in the air. Um, and again, you can buy everything I've ever built, all the spreadsheets for $9.99. There's hundreds, all unique logic, just like I'm building here. Pretty cool stuff. I also have a lot of trackers for like accounting to track payables, receivables, inventory, job costing, um, budgeting, payroll calculators, cash conversion cycle tracking. Also, a lot of stuff with human resources, timesheets, employee training tracking, tracker for just general data like employee benefits and who has what, just to stay organized, hiring and firing tools, scheduling, KPI scoring dashboards. Also, note on the SaaS stuff in the beginning, I've got this pricing simulator, this rolling revenue forecaster, and this lifetime value and CAC payback tracker. Those are really, really cool and valuable things that are not, they're not startup models, they're just used in a business to track things and try to get better at it. So those are very, really cool um, one-off templates for the SaaS industry that I just wanted to highlight. Alrighty, have a great one. I'll be back tomorrow 10 a.m. We're going to keep going on this model, and hopefully we'll be close to somewhere finished by the end of the week.